mention Nigeria. From Abuja, you can't come to Benue by road. People will be telling you, be careful. From Abuja, you can't go to Kaduna by road. You can't go by air. You can't go from Abuja to Mina by road. Everywhere you want to go, people say to you, don't go. You must fly. It is a crisis situation. And everybody is asking the question, how did we get here? All of us are worried. Is it that our children are going to live? How did we get here? We got here by cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. It is those people who refuse to invest in education, those people who refuse to care for, have suddenly become our problem. We're here because we have thousands of our young people doing nothing. Nigeria today has 100 million people living in poverty. 100 million. You are saying so. Nigeria have more people living in poverty today than the two most populous nations in the world, China and India put together. We have more people living in poverty. It is not normal. Our infrastructures are failing. Our states are collapsing. People can no longer buy food in Nigeria. It's not becoming impossible for families to eat because their income can no longer feed them. And that is the crisis families and everybody are facing today. And we're keeping quiet. What still our governments are owing? Every local government, state, federal government is now owing a lot of money. And when you ask what way do they use the money for, everybody said it's for capital project. Where is the capital project in the federal? You don't see any. At least if there's a capital project, there would have been a road from Enugu to Markudi. That road is just barely about 200 and something kilometers of road, which wouldn't have cost federal government of Nigeria more than 100 billion. And if you check the amount that is being owed today, you can find out that Benue and Enugu could have benefited from that. At least when Obasanjo left government, the total debt owed by Nigeria is 3 trillion. Today we are owing 58 trillion. So they've added 55 trillion to that without anything to show for it. Without anything to show for it. That is where we are. 1% of 55 trillion is 550 billion. 0.01% of that is 55 billion. 55 billion would have done a lot to construct Enugu to Markudi. Are you saying that they're not, if from the 55 trillion you're owing, these two states is not entitled to 55 to fix this road? That means that money was thrown away. The consequence that today we're going to be faced by paying that money. Our children are going to pay it without anything to. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. Every nation in the world borrows. Every nation. Not without the exception of one. Not Norway, with the highest amount of sovereign wealth fund, they still owe 50% of their GDP. Not America, nearly 100% of their GDP. Not Britain, 70% of their GDP. Every nation in the world owes. But for God's sake, what did you use the money you borrowed to do? I was in Bauchi yesterday, and I went to the tomb of Tafa Balewa, and people said to me, why did you go there? I said, because the sacrifice he did as Prime Minister, under him, Nigeria borrowed the first money they borrowed. Farmers in Benue can no longer go to their farm. So they can no longer provide food for themselves and be able to sell anything. Nigeria cannot feed itself. That's why the vast land and the farmers that we have everywhere here. I was in Niger the other day, and I said to them, you can't even feed yourself with all the land you have. You can't feed the country. Niger is 700 76.3 square kilometers of land. Yet they cannot feed themselves. When Netherlands, with 33,000 square kilometers of land, is expecting 120 billion worth of export agricultural goods. But Niger State, with 76.3 square kilometers, cannot feed itself. All of us will come as aspirants, will come as anything to ask for you delegates to support us. Please, I'm begging you, let us introduce ourselves and go. Take your time, even in 1 day, 2 days, to verify what you're going to use your vote. You will not be delegate forever. I used to tell people when I was governor, this job is not going to be forever. I'm going to do it in such a way that I can still live. I live in Onitsha today. I don't live outside the state I govern. I said it. I will never own a house outside Anambra State. I was governor of that state. I want to live with ordinary people. I govern now that I don't have security and everything, so they can look at me and I can look at them. When they will no longer anybody going to push them away from me. And I live with them. I live in Onitsha. And the reason why I do that, when he told you now what I did, it's very simple. He told you about the education, he told you about my background, he told you what I did in the state. Go and verify what happened in that state when I was governor. Go and verify how we were able to cut down the cost to have that excess money. All we do in this country is sharing. Nothing else. All I want to do is to move this country from sharing consumption to production. No country survives. We want to take away sharing formula and bring production formula. I have done it as a private sector person. I'm a trader. I've done it as a public sector person. I started a small business, which is a very successful business, both here and the United Kingdom. I went into public life. I've chaired corporations, including, if you go to history today, nobody have attempted being a chairman of a bank at my age. When I was chairman of a bank, I was 39. And I've chaired the Security and Exchange Commission, which is the body monitoring everything. And I went into politics. And I've been in politics, I was governor of Anambra State for 8 years. You can go and check the record of that state. If people say there's corruption, let them go and ask whether there's any place Anambra State money was missing while I was there for 8 years. Besides, which is just mentioned to you, no thief sees what he can steal and leave it. Everybody knows. I left in 3 banks, and the banks are still standing. Some of them are in Otuboya. If you go to Access Bank, you tell them that Peter Obi said the day he left office, I had for Anambra State 12 billion naira, $50 million in Access Bank. I had in Fidelity Bank 56 million, I was saving in dollars and naira, $56 million, 12 billion naira. And I had in Diamond Bank 12 billion naira, $50 million. In these 3 banks, they're there. I left 75 billion. And nobody, I did not owe one gratuity or pension. I said it is criminal. It is criminal. And I repeat it now. I said it is criminal to owe pension or gratuity. You can't owe people in their old age when their life is difficult and they have less opportunity. To hold this down, to know that there's this, I wasn't owing any pension, no salary and everything. So my dear people, I know we're hurrying, but let me tell you, when they give you the vote, people will come and give you money. They will do everything. If they give you money, take it. After all, it's not their money. So don't bother, take it. Or please, when you want to vote, Do not look at me. Do not look at anybody. After you made your inquiry, take picture of your children and put it in front of you. Ask yourself, these children, this child I have, which society do I want them to live in? To continue to live in a society where there's banditry, where there's fear, where there's hatred, where there's everything, where they cannot go to farm, where they cannot find job, where every day there's a sense of hopelessness? Or do I want them to live in a better society? That is what I want you to look at. That society you are abusing today, or helping to abuse today, will take its revenge on your children and grandchildren. God bless you.
Please, there's no time. But one thing that attracts you to the people of Benue is your knowledge of security of this country. Because in Benue, what we need most is security, so that our people can go to the farms. This you have at the tip of your hand. And we know your capacity and your sagacity to lead this country. But one other thing that will attract you to us is your simplicity. You are a very simple man. There was a time I was traveling to London, and I met you at the plane. And I was expecting that you would go and sit at first class. But you sat with us at business class. You may not recall, but I recall. And for a governor to have given his phone number to all secondary school class prefects shows how simple you are. I listened to your program at Belegete Radio, and you don't need to say much here. We wish you well. May God bless you. Thank you very much.